Hi everybody, it's James here. And today we're going to take a look at a 1995 Fender Stratocaster made in the USA. I just got this guitar in, I'm going to take a look at it, do a little bit of CSI work on it, and figure out what this guitar has been up to for the last 26 years. Let's check it out. So here's the old Kramer case that this came in. It looks pretty old and a little beaten up. I don't know what that means for the guitar inside, but let's check this out. We'll open it up and take a look. See what happens. Alright, here we go. 1995 Fender Stratocaster with one string on it. And wow, look at that maple neck. That's pretty impressive. And Sonic Blue. I always loved that color. It looks pretty decent. Doesn't look like it's been played. Okay, so let's take a look at this a little closer. Okay, so according to the Fender database, this guitar, N527572, was made in Corona, California in late 1995 or very early 1996. This looks right. The tuning pegs are all standard Fender Stratocaster tuning pegs for the era. They have not been changed up. So let's have a look at this neck. If we go down here, we've got that nice skunk stripe right down the center of the neck there, and sits really nicely in the pocket. It doesn't look like there is any wear on this neck at all. Typically, if you see a guitar that's been played a lot, you'll see that there is wear to the finish on the back of the neck, especially in the first few frets. But I don't see any here at all. Looks like this guitar might have been bought by somebody who wanted to play guitar and just stuck it under a bed. As we move from the neck to the body of the guitar, and we're taking a look at the back first, we take a look at this nice looking Sonic Blue. Boy, it really doesn't look like this guitar has been played. Or if it has been played, it hasn't been played much. And if it has been played, it has been, played in a hermetically sealed room or something. I don't see any scratches at all to the back of this guitar. Even if you look at this, it's kind of hard to get a nice view of this, but I just don't see any scuffs to the chrome there in the neck plate. Usually that's scratched up a little bit, but this just looks like it's pretty pristine. I don't see any bumps or anything on the edges. That's where these things normally get a lot of bumps, and little ping holes is right on the edges where these things come into contact with all sorts of metal things like mic stands and furniture. But I just don't see anything on this guitar. It does look like it has lived a lot of its life in a case. Even if we go down here and we look at this back plate, this is where the strings come through, really don't see anything. Okay, so let us flip this guitar over and see what we get. Okay, turn that around, and presto, here she is. Let's start off at the headstock. Typical looking headstock. That looks right. The spaghetti Fender logo there. Everything's period correct. On the edge of the headstock is often where we find a lot of dents and pings and things. Again, nothing here. It does have a string on it. We'll take a look at that later. The frets, it looks like these frets are worn. You can see where the lines of the strings were. But that is not actually wear to the frets. That's where these strings have been sitting over these frets and the strings corroded. So those are not indentations to the frets. Those are corrosion marks from very old strings. So one thing that you might notice when you spend a lot of time with guitars is that you can feel when a guitar has been played a lot. The edge of the fretboard, the lower edge and the top edge of the fretboard, even though it's very subtle, over time, as people play these guitars over and over and over again, this edge right here becomes smoothed out by the rubbing of the hand up and down the neck. This guitar, it just really feels pretty factory sharp. It's not, these fretboards are not made to be sharp to begin with, but it's really, you can feel how sharp this is cut here and on the underside of the fretboard. There again, it's an indication that this guitar has not been played a lot, and definitely not up here in the upper frets where all this, you see all of this string corrosion, and you see absolutely no string indentation to the frets. Boy, this is a little bit of a time capsule here. As we move down the guitar toward the body, yeah, look at this. Okay, you can see even in the middle pickup, you see this little hair right here. That's actually part of the plastic. There is like a saran wrap or a kind of plastic sheet that goes over the pickguard when these things are made and they come out of the factory so that the pickguard doesn't get scratched up. Here's another thing, just looking at the pickguard itself, there's no scratches. And typically you find for a guitar that's been played a lot of scratches. Again, the paint, there seems to be some little, a little divot there. I don't know if that's a factory thing, but yeah, that's the only thing I can find on this guitar. Again, the jack plate doesn't look like any jack was even ever put into this guitar. Usually there has some scratches in this thing because, you get drunk and you miss the, you're trying to plug your guitar in and you miss that and you scratch up the area. Yeah, this looks like somebody got this for Christmas back in 1995 and peeled off the scratch plate plastic and then put it away. To give you an idea of what a well-played guitar looks like, and I'm not saying that I play it well, I'm just saying that it's been played a lot, I'm going to show you my 2005 Highway 1 Stratocaster. So the next guitar I'm going to show you is 10 years younger than this guitar, but you'll immediately see some of the differences. So here is a 2005 Fender Stratocaster, Highway 1. It is different in that the lacquer that they used for the paint here is nitrocellulose. It's a very thin lacquer. So we'll get to that in a second, but that wears very differently from the types of paint that they used on the 1995. This guitar, it's different in that it has a rosewood fretboard, but if you were to feel this fretboard, you run your hand up and down on this fretboard, you'll feel that it's really quite smooth. It feels as though it has certainly felt hands going up and down its neck throughout its life. Obviously, it's not something you can see too easily, but it's there. Also, of course, you look at frets, and there's, again, it's hard to see with the camera, But there are indentations underneath each of the strings. And these indentations go up, probably 12th fret or so. I don't do a lot of ear-piercing stuff way up there, so it doesn't have too much fret wear at all up there. But anyway, just the general feel of this neck is one that has been played. Of course, guitar has gone in and out of its case a bunch of times. It's a soft case, and that tends to wear on the sides of the guitar. I should tell you, this is a working guitar. This guitar gigs really frequently, so it's got a lot of wear to it, more so than probably one that would be sitting at home, living the good life. Again, it's got wear to the paint on the upper edge right here. It's just from rubbing my arm on it, I guess. But yeah, little dents and dings all over this thing. That's just what happens. This is what a guitar that is played regularly looks like after, and this guitar is 15 years old, and has been played. It's been loved, but it has definitely been played. And again, you can see another thing to look for on a guitar if you're trying to get an idea of its how it's been played or how much it's been played, is you look on the outside of the pickups, and here it's just smoothed down. The edge of the pickup, it's not sharp, and that's because strumming with the pick, you're hitting this thing every so often, and it just kind of rubs this down a little bit so it gets a little softer. Any of the feeling of any of this metal stuff here, again, is worn down by the hand just resting on it or whatever. Knobs they get torn up a little bit. Again, missing the jack here with your 1/4 inch. You get some of those. But again, this is a body and the neck of a guitar that has been played pretty frequently, and you can see how different that is to the 1995 guitar that we just looked at. So in summary, if you want to get a general idea about the life history of a guitar, there are certain things to look for, one of which is the smoothness or the feel of the sides of the fretboard. Also looking at the back of the neck and seeing if there's any wear there, and generally looking at the body for telltale signs of guitar abuse. And this is not to say that a guitar that has been used is not a good guitar. In fact, if you were to ask me which one of these two guitars I prefer to play, it's going to be this one. It's going to be the one that's banged up a bit. It just feels nice and smooth. It's like an old leather jacket that's been worn a lot. Hope you liked the video. Bye.